I started the recording.
Oh, thank you. Okay, hey folks, welcome to ECA. First meeting of the new year. I will be calling this meeting to order at 12:31 p.m. First, as always, we start off with a territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied lands. So everyone here, this is where we are situated. For those joining in online, I would definitely encourage folks to tell us where you are calling in from, always acknowledging the work that we do on these stolen lands. And thankful to be here as a guest on these lands. Next, we will go on to section 3, which is roll call of attendance. And this is the ACA composition. First of all, is myself, I'm the chair, Ishana. By the way, when we do roll call of attendance, if you feel comfortable, pronouns, name, any access needs, anything I can make to make you feel comfortable in this space. So once again, Ishana, her pronouns, and I have no access needs. And then the next person we have here is Grayson.
Hi everyone, Grayson Bark. I'm from Environmental Science Student Union, he, him pronouns, and all my access needs are met here.
Thank you, Grayson. Next we have Gabe.
Hey everyone, my name's Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are he, him, his. And for access needs, I was supposed to join in person today. I tested positive for COVID earlier this week, so I'm joining remotely. It's my last day of isolation, so it kind of sucks, but here in spirit. And for access needs, just for the folks in person, if you can just speak as clearly as you can, it helps the folks online hear a little bit better, but the sound is quite good, so it's not that big of a deal. Thanks, Ashana.
Next we have Minahil.
Hi everyone, my name is Minahil. My pronouns are she, her. My access needs are met.
Thank you. Next we have Gurjot.
Hi, my name is Gurjot. Pronouns he, him. All my access needs are met as well.
Thank you, Gurjot. And then we have Danielle.
Hi, everyone. My pronouns are she, her. For access needs, my camera just doesn't work. And I'm coming from Coquitlam at home.
So thank you. And then we have our at-large member, Danielle. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yep, Daniel calling from Coquitlam, and the accessibility needs are met. I was just working overnight, so I'm not joining in person today, but we'll see about next week. Yep.
Awesome, thank you. And then I see we have a guest in the room. Joshua, go ahead.
Hi there, my name is Joshua. He is in pronouns, access needs are met. I am with SASH as well.
Awesome, thank you. Amazing, we finished roll call of attendance. We are now on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda reads, be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. Once again, for those new in the room, the consent agenda normally is just minutes, uncontested motions. You would see when the minutes came out, when the agenda came out, the minutes were there. I hope folks were able to read over it. If there's anything you ever want to talk about in the consent agenda, just let me know. We'll add it as a regular new business item. But with that being said, once again, be it resolved to receive and file the following minutes. So it's just ECA from our last meeting. And I'm just going to ask for this to be done by unanimous consent. Is there anyone who objects to this? You can just raise your hand, or in the Zoom room, raise your hand. Cool, seeing that carries unanimously. Now we are on to the adoption of the agenda. So can I get a mover, please? Gabe moves. Can I get a seconder?
I second.
Thank you, Grayson. Grayson seconds. So I'll read out the motion. So I can't even read this. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Does anyone have any amendments to the agenda? I have an amendment to the agenda. Let me just copy and paste it.
Well, that's very.
I'll read it out loud for folks for access needs. Okay, so this motion is called compensation for consultations for the award for Indigenous students and international students. Essentially, so the motion reads, whereas the VP External and Community Affairs is working on an award for Indigenous students and international students, whereas the students being consulted should be provided with compensation, whereas students will be given $50 for the hour consultation per student, be it resolved to pass $300 for the students to be compensated for these consultations. Can I get, Gabe, can you help me out here? Do I get one for the seconder now?
Yeah, you just need to move her in a seconder and then you vote on whether the committee wants to add it to the agenda. And then once that's done, you vote on the agenda as amended.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Can I get a mover for this?
I move to add the amendment.
Grayson moves. Can I get a seconder?
Second.
Gurjot seconds. Okay, now that that is moved and seconded, we will now be voting on the adoption of the agenda as amended.
Oh, wait, you're voting on adding the motion to the agenda still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I, so, okay, so I'll be, okay, can I get, sorry.
Ask for a vote.
Can I will be seeking unanimous consent for this to be added to the adoption of the agenda. Anyone object? Looking online, looking in person, seeing none. Okay, now we move to, I lost the agenda.
Now it's just adopting the agenda, including the amendment you just.
Now we move to adopt the agenda as amended. I will be seeking unanimous consent. Is there any dissent on this? Feel free to raise your hand. Anything, letting me know. Seeing none? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Gabe. Okay, so now that we have that, the adoption of the agenda was carried unanimously, by the way, for those tuning in online. And now we are on to presentations by Sash. I'll leave it to you now, Gabe.
Awesome, thanks, Ashana. Please give me a moment to queue up my presentation that I have prepared. And we also have Joshua joining us, who's a board member at the Society for Affordable Student Housing. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. Ishana, you can see that in there? Sorry, yes?
You can
Okay,
see it.
perfect. Awesome. Well, hey everyone. While I'm also a member of the SFSS and a member of this committee, as just an individual, I've been taking part in this new nonprofit organization that I've been helping kickstart with a friend of mine, who many of you probably know, who I'll get into in a minute. I wanted to bring this presentation to the ECA committee because I feel like it ties in really closely with a lot of the work that Ishana has been trying to bring forward regarding affordable housing and how it impacts students. So the Society for Affordable Housing. We are a relatively new nonprofit org. We were just incorporated in December. And we are all pretty much either current or past student leaders from student unions across BC. So some of our board members include Corbett Gildersleeve, who used to be the VP Finance of the SFSS and then the VP Internal. Myself, who was on the executive of the SFSS for 2 years and was the president of the SFSS for about 10, 11 months. Ariana, who is the chairperson of the Alliance of BC Students, an organization we work with very closely here at the SFSS, and she's also the VP External of the Capilano Students Union. Matt Provost used to be a member of the executive here at the SFSS for 2 years as well, served alongside myself and Corbett. Hudson Campbell's the director at large. He's currently a student at Douglas not Douglas. He transferred from Douglas to the University of Fraser Valley this semester. He's a school board trustee in Maple Ridge Pitt Meadows. Josh, who's joining us today, he's the VP Community Development here at the Society for Affordable Student Housing. He's the executive director of the Alliance of BC Students and has also served in elected positions at the Capilano Students Union as well. We have Chris, who's the ED at the executive director at the Capilano Students Union, and Celine, who is our VP Communications and is a former employee at Van City, as well as a graduate of the University of BC. And so as an organization, our main goal is to try and develop and operate housing that's actually affordable for students. Now, in the context of the housing crisis, the word affordable gets thrown around a lot, and it's kind of lost its meaning. And so we have a very particular definition of affordable that we try and adopt in all of our work that I'll try and get into in a minute. But the main goal of our organization is develop housing specifically for low-income students, those of kind of lower socioeconomic status that necessarily can't afford housing within, SFU residence and housing, or the extremely exploitative housing market that we're currently experiencing. And so there's a lot of math on this slide, but I won't go into it. Basically, it's, as university students, we're all currently experiencing and understand on a pretty deep level how the cost of living crisis impacts us. We face a lot of the burden of a lot of difficult costs, including rent, textbooks, tuition, car insurance, gas, transit, what have you. And because of this, students face a very unique struggle when it comes to finding a place in the housing market. And there is a huge deficit of housing programs that are tailored specifically to post-secondary students. And so if you really, if you look at the math, which again, I'm not going to go into detail here, but if you look at the math, students who work a part-time job at minimum wage, which is, what the majority of post-secondary students have as a job. If you look at the amount students are making at a part-time job, making a minimum wage versus what they could actually afford in rent, that number actually equals $300 a month in rent. That's what the typical amount of the typical student can put toward the average amount of rent. Now, obviously, those of us on the Zoom call and in the room know that you will never, ever, ever find any housing that is $300 a month in rent. That is just out of this world in this housing market. You're lucky if you can find something for $1,500 a month, and that's considered cheap. And so the goal for us in looking to develop and operate housing that students can truly afford is how can we build a model that actually subsidizes housing costs to the point where we can actually get it down to $300, $400 a month, so that students of low income can actually afford rent. And that's what we're, as an organization, looking to research. And so this model comes from actually SFU, where the whole premise behind our organization and the idea behind our model comes from the student union building at SFU, and how students banded together to create a building that was funded and built for students. A bit of a backgrounder is that, the students back in 2012 or 2011 voted in a referendum on whether or not they wanted to build a student union building that was owned and operated by them. Fast forward a couple of years to 2015, they voted on a referendum to implement a fee that students to this day still pay as part of their tuition, called the Build SFU fee. And all that money that each of us individually pay toward the SFSS helps operate and paid for the construction of the student union building. We're looking at a model similar to that, whereby we engage with student populations at universities across BC to see if they are looking, if they would be interested in operating and funding themselves a sort of cooperative housing specifically for students. And so in order to do that, you know, funding has to come from a lot of places. We'd have to work closely with student unions across BC to create dedicated student fees to help fund a project like this. We'd have to look at government grants and private grants as well to contribute to the operating costs of the building and monthly rent. And that's all part of the research that our organization is doing to see what a model like this could look like, so that we can so we can do this. And yeah, I won't go too much into this, but we're looking at, as a first project, we're looking at SFU because myself and Corbett, who are kind of the main founders of SASH, we're most familiar with SFU and what it would take to build affordable student housing on a campus like this. Our goal is Burnaby and Surrey campus. We really want to build housing in Surrey because there currently is no housing in Surrey. There's residence and housing on Burnaby campus. The residence is here, but Surrey is really where there's a deficit and a need for SFU students. So this exact presentation that I'm giving to you today was actually presented to the executive committee of the SFSS last week. And from what I heard, I wasn't there for the presentation, but Corbett and Josh were there, was that it was pretty well received, and that the executive at its next meeting will be looking at potentially endorsing this idea and signing on to our letter of support. But the next steps for us are trying to apply for seed funding and to be able to fund our research into the student-centric affordable housing model. And right now, we're engaged in what I'm doing now is just presenting to different community groups and stakeholders to see, you know, what do they think about this idea? Do they see this as a viable option? How can we partner to make this a reality? Do you have any ideas or criticisms based on our very, very, very early ideas of what this could look like? And that's part of why I wanted to come here today, is because this committee is dedicated to fighting the housing crisis for students. And so I believe that's the end of the presentation. Josh, is there anything I missed in my presentation that you would like to add?
No, you summed it up very well. I think I would just kind of double up on that point about how we've developed a roadmap, and Gabe and Corbett put in a ton of research into this already. And we have an idea of where we want to go with this, but as there's still so much to be explored, there's so much opportunity for folks like yourselves to get involved, to provide ideas, and to really guide us in the direction we take this. It's going to be community driven, everything we do, and we want to make sure that that's really core to every step we take in going down this road. So as Gabe said, any feedback, thoughts, we want them, we need them. So feel free to shoot them our way.
Awesome. And yeah, Ashana, I'll pass it back to you if there's any questions from community members.
Yeah, thank you, Gabe. Thank you, Joshua. I'm going to open this up for the committee. If you have any questions, please feel free to put your hand up, or if you're online, put list in the chat. But yeah, I'll give it a minute or two and then I'll chime in. seeing none right now, I guess I'll go ahead. Yeah, this was brought to exec, I think it was last Friday. Joshua and Corbett came. It was a really great presentation. On the exec side, all of us pretty much kind of supported this. We're planning on hopefully bringing this with like an endorsement support letter, and then maybe we can, I'm just thinking out loud, but even bring this to council to kind of see what they think. But I think it's an awesome idea. Housing is a huge issue right now. People aren't able to survive. They aren't able to find a place to live. So we need things like this, brings community together. And ECA is all about community building. So yeah, thank you for the presentation. I'll open it once more for committee members if you have questions or comments.
I'll just add a quick comment. I think this is an excellent idea. You guys have, hit the nail on the head with the need, and I think that your solution here, it's something that the region, not just the SFU community, but we're desperate for like alternative housing models. I see just so many positives coming out of this if it's successful. Student life, mental health. I'm seeing like people making dinner together and stuff like that. I mean, I know that happens in residence a little bit already, but this is really gonna like build a culture around these buildings. So yeah, this is very exciting.
Awesome. Thank you for your comments. Anything else in the meantime? Nope. Seems like we're feeling good. Excited for new housing. Amazing. Thank you so much for the presentation. I guess we'll get along with the agenda. Thank you so much for coming, Joshua. We appreciate it.
Okay, bye everyone. It was great to meet you.
Yay, cool. That was amazing. Housing. Okay, on to section 7, reports from committees. 7.1, report from the office of the VP External. So what have I been doing? Food security projects. I've been updating the SFSS council about this. I've been working with the SFSS executives for food security projects, Munchie Mondays. This was basically a thing which was here, I think about 2 years ago or something before the pandemic hit. And then we want to bring it back now. It's a way for students to meet SFSS executives, give us feedback on the work that we do, and also get food. I actually made the kind of list of like what to get for students, and what I realized is students want fruit, vegetables, nutritious things. They get cookies, muffins all the time, wherever. So what I got is like, I got bananas, apples, oranges. At Costco, you get those like vanilla yogurt bars. So yeah, stuff like that. So see that on Monday. So committee members, tell your friends, feel free to come by. It'll be on Monday the 23rd from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So meet your SFSS executives and get food. Another food security project, breakfast program. So this will be a breakfast program, and it'll be free breakfast for all SFU undergrads. If other folks want to come too, go for it. We just want to provide security for food. So how we want to plan it is, it'll be breakfast 1 day a week, but every week the 1 day which the food is given will be changed. So for example, 1 week it'll be Monday, 1 week it'll be Wednesday. We don't know when students are on campus. We're trying to find a more sustainable thing. But we also got a $10,000 donation from a donor. So we're trying to figure out how to use that, create a more sustainable type of food program. As I said, I'm working on the word for indigenous students and international students. And I'm also working on federal lobby days planning. Oh, I'm at willpower. I'll fix that later. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on. Any questions from the committee, online or in person? Feel free to give feedback too if you think I can add anything to my projects. Also feel free to come to my office hours, or honestly, I'm on campus all the time. Feel free to come by and let me know. Amazing. So that's a report from committees. Any last minute discussion before I move on to new business? Amazing. Okay. So section 10, new business, we're going to look at motion 10.1 for federal lobby days funding. This was submitted by myself, the motion. Oh, can I get a mover in a second? Can I get a mover, please? Gurjot moves, and Gabe seconds. Thank you. So the motion reads, whereas the SFSS External Office is planning federal lobby days, whereas there are fees associated with this trip, including transportation, accommodation, and food, be it resolved to pass up to $4,900 for the federal lobby days trip. However, I would like to make a small amendment, which we will be voting on. I'm just adding $20 to the budget. I was talking to staff and we were doing the budget and then we realized, oh, we need $20 more. So I'll just be doing a small amendment. So I'll put it in the chat for staff as well. So basically it'll just be for the last whereat clause. So be it resolved to pass, instead of $4,900, it'll be $4,920. Sorry for the small amendment, folks. 1,000. For the federal lobby. Days trip. Okay, cool. Can I get a mover for this amendment?
I move to add the amendment.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder? Gurjot seconds. Okay, so the mover was Grayson, the seconder was Gurjot. We will now be voting on this amendment for the be it resolved clause. Unanimous consent. I'm calling for unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand. Seeing no dissent, that is passed. So once again, I will read the motion as amended. Okay, once again, as amended, whereas the External Office is planning federal lobby days, whereas there are fees associated with this trip, including transportation, accommodation, and food, be it resolved to pass $4,920 for the federal lobby days trip. I'm just gonna give a little background on this. So staff and I have been working on this. I think I brought it up right before the break. So the campaigns coordinator and the board organizer here and I have been working on this. Me, the president and 2 staff members will be attending. And this is just like, we tried to find the cheapest options for things like, I think even for food, we're just gonna try and like get groceries and stuff because we're trying to get an Airbnb. Just makes it cheaper. We're trying to use student funds as best we can. Federal lobby days are a great way to talk to federal MPs and get things done. An example of what we won from federal lobby days is the elimination of interest on student loans. Huge wins come from this. So it's a great way to put pressure, get in these spaces where we are supposed to be. But yeah, any questions on the amount, the trip, anything, because it is a lot of money. I open questions.
Dates.
Gurjot?
Sorry, yeah, dates, just when they are.
Okay, so the question was asked dates for the trip. So the trip dates we'll be leaving on February 13th and we will be flying back on February 17th. If the committee has appetite for this, I will also be sending the schedule. I actually presented the schedule and things to council, but I realized I should bring it here as well. I will be sending it through an email, the presentation I presented to council, so folks know how the money will be used when we will be having meetings. Essentially, almost every day we'll be having those meetings. It's only on the 17th we don't have a meeting because that's when we're flying back. We're also meeting Indigenous elders, giving them tobacco. And we're also hoping to meet with the Canadian Federation of Students just to create more relationships with them, seeing what we can work on, how we can lobby the government together. But yeah, any other questions? Grayson?
Not about this or the funding, I think that's all fine. I do have like an idea or suggestion about lobby days. It just kind of came up this morning.
Awesome.
I mean, this might not be the best place to raise it, but since we're talking about lobby days, I'm just gonna go ahead and stick this in here. So like SFU is in this really unique position. We've got a big federally funded project sort of across the street from us that they're spending huge amounts of money on, which doesn't really help our community in any way. In fact, it harms it and endangers it. So I think whenever we're talking to the federal government or the provincial government, we should be reminding them in sort of a clear but as polite as possible way. My thinking here is they should be shoveling some money at us. Now, there's a lot of places this could go, the student co-ops, maybe this is funding that goes to climate adaptation on campus. I mean, I'm sure some of the buildings up here get pretty hot in the summers. There's concerns with smoke and air quality. I'm sure you guys can think of tons of other ideas as well. So, I mean, this isn't an instant thing, but I think you guys are in Ottawa, keep this in mind. And I think it's, this project will be wrapping up at some point. They're gonna have people out here doing ribbon cuttings, making announcements. I wanna make sure that SFU community and the students here, everyone who uses this campus, who's sort of placed in danger coming up here, as long as that facility is operating, we should be seeing some benefits to balance out the negatives that they brought to this community. So, sorry if this isn't the right place to bring it, but I thought it was important with you guys heading off and everything. Just sort of share that idea.
No, I definitely agree. Just to confirm, we're talking about the TMX pipeline.
The pipeline and the tank farm.
Yeah,
Like, there's no other university I can think of anywhere that has that kind of risk sitting next door. And they came up here, they didn't listen to any of our concerns. I think it's time they pony up the dough, so to speak, and buy us some nice things to sort of compensate.
yeah, no, definitely. I think we actually have an issues policy within the SFSS that we do not like this.
No,
TMX
of course, yeah.
So this has actually been, since we're talking about this, I brought this up with my meetings with the former president of the SFSS, Helen, and we actually talked to some folks about this, and we're like, what's going on? Because in reality, students will die. Students will die, and they're taking the risk of thousands of people and community members dying for this pipeline. So the answer we got was that nothing can be done. However, we do not take that answer, especially in student government. So Grayson, thank you for bringing that up. I'll definitely run by that staff and run through that with staff. And if you want to have a meeting with you and I and staff, we can totally make that happen and see what we can do. So maybe we can have like an hour of like research and then making that into a briefing note and seeing if we can give that to certain people.
I mean, the ask could be really simple, but it could just be a large annual donation to the SFSS.
We can definitely flesh it out and then figure it out and see what we can do.
Because after the ribbon cutting and everything sort of, people are gonna disappear and they'll pretend like it doesn't exist. So we should push for this before all of that happens.
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts on this, online or in person? Seeing none, I will be taking a note, hopefully for the record, if you can also put that we will be following up on this. That would be amazing. Thank you, Daniel. But yeah, we'll definitely look further into it, and I appreciate the thoughts on this. Getting back to the motion. Sorry, folks, getting back to the motion. I'm going to be seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand. Seeing none, this motion is passed unanimously. Okay, now on to, claps. Now on to 10.2. This motion is called Snack and Drink Funding for ECA Committees, submitted by myself. Can I get a mover, please? Gabe moves.
I second.
Enthusiastically moves.
Okay, Grayson seconds. So once again, Gabe moves, Grayson seconded. I will read out the motion. Whereas the External and Community Affairs Committee meetings will take place in person in the spring 2023 semester, where snacks and drinks should be provided during these meetings, be it resolved to pass up to $500 for snack and drink for the External and Community Affairs Committee meetings in the spring 2023 semester. Yeah, this is kind of self-explanatory. I feel like if folks come here, if we talk about food security, I want to make sure that folks are fed, you have something to drink as well. Also, it just builds community. I want us to hang out, have a good time. If you're here, be nourished. Any questions on this? Any comments? Seeing none, I'm going to seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand and I will call on your vote. Seeing none, that passes unanimously. Okay, now we are on to the amended motion. that we amended at the start. The motion is called award for Indigenous and International Student the motion is called compensation for consultation for the award for Indigenous students and international students. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Gabe moves.
I second.
Grayson seconds. The motion reads, whereas the External and Community Affairs Committee is working on Community Affairs. Oh, sorry. Whereas the VP External and Community Affairs is working on an award.
I'll text to Shauna and let her know that they cut out.
I was reading out a motion. I'll just start back from the beginning. Actually, I'll read it out because we already got a mover and a seconder. So whereas the VP External and Community Affairs is working on an award for Indigenous students and international students, whereas the students being consulted should be provided with compensation, where students will be given $50 in for the hour of consultation per student, be it resolved to pass $300 for students to be compensated for these consultations. Once again, I'll just give a little brief on this. I am working on this award for international students and Indigenous students. We already have a Black Student Scholarship Award. And then actually, this was brought up at council when we were talking about another donation that we should have an in-house scholarship or an award for Indigenous students. So I was like, hey, let's do Indigenous students, an award for them. And obviously we need to be consulting during those conversations during council as well. I know we also talked about international students. So I was like, hey, why not bring this together? If I'm doing consultations, I'll do them around the same time. Yeah, any questions on this? Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Anything online? No. Do we know if Minahel's going to be back?
Just want to go in.
Okay. I don't know if we have. I guess we can ask for, I don't know, because she's not here, we need for unanimous consent, right? I don't know if she'll need to be here.
You can do it if she's not there. It's just whether or not you want to or not.
Okay, I'll just do it. Okay, I'm gonna be seeking unanimous consent for this. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand. And I will call on you to see how you vote. Okay, seeing none, that passes unanimously. Yay. And I will keep on bringing updates to ECA about this, and it'll be coming to council too. Awesome. Next we have discussion items. Okay, so these are just kind of updates. I just kind of want to see what folks are thinking. So the first discussion item is 11.1 for a tuition freeze. Gabe and I kind of did a working session before we went on break, and we're like, hey, how can we engage ECA more? How can we do more work during the spring semester? Let's be honest, we kind of fell off during the fall, but it's because we didn't have members completely stable in the committee. Now that we have a stable committee, we were just thinking, hey, what can we do for things that will get us together and which align with our thoughts? And one of the things was tabling for tuition freeze, having I think Gabe was talking about a open house as well. What the committee members think about that. So for example, it'll be like, we get students like bags of chips, or we buy freezies, and then on the freezies, we're like, freeze tuition. So then, yeah, so then when they come, they'll get their freezie, and then we're like, hey, do you know what this is? And a lot of students are like, what is a tuition freeze? So then we can explain the reasoning, the logic. And before that, we can make posters, we can pass money for like a dinner together for planning. Yeah. I don't know, I want this committee to be more sociable, getting together, getting things done. What were you thinking about that? Any thoughts? Yes.
Yeah.
Thinking yes.
Yeah, tuition freeze, it's definitely gonna be helpful. You know, the cost of everything is going up. Be nice to have one thing that isn't.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about education being free. We always
have the cost of like dropping and swapping classes.
Yeah, that's something else we can also talk about. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know a big problem is students being like, I lost $300 because you waited like a day to drop a class. And like,
Yeah.
what is
So
that?
not even a day, an hour, like 11:59 and
Yeah.
12:01.
Yeah, no, it's wild. So, coming back to the discussion item, I guess I'll be bringing motions then in the future to pass money for like dinners for us to plan, or for example, like an open house and we can plan that. I'm also thinking we can have like informal kind of meetings, where we kind of just talk about like sit at a table in the exec office and talk about what we can do, how we can organize an open house, things like that. Cool. Any other appetite for this discussion item? Seeing none online, seeing none in person. Awesome. On to 11.2. Housing. I didn't really give a lot of information there. Sorry about that. Basically, I just wanted to kind of do the same thing for a tuition-free type of open house for housing. Just getting students to realize that, hey, this is a big problem. What can we do to organize? So basically what I said in the last discussion item, bringing it back here. Any thoughts, any feedback?
Would we be working with SACH? Would we be working with SACH for it, or like kind of tabling what you thinking of doing?
Dave, did you hear that?
So I think the work that Sash and this committee can do are definitely related. I don't let me think of a way to explain that. Sash is focusing on the development and operation of actual like an affordable student housing model, whereas I think our advocacy here at this committee is a bit more broad. We're kind of focusing a bit more on lobbying and advocating for government to change housing policy, and that sort of thing, and raising awareness via campaigns within the university campus about these types of issues. Yeah.
Yeah, so hearing that, I guess it's more of like, for example, if we want to plan a meeting with an MLA, maybe I can take a couple committee members, we can go together. Another thing could be we start a campaign, which we work on staff with. Obviously, committee members, you folks would tell us what you want us to do, and then I would bring that back to staff. And then our campaigns coordinator could help us build a campaign, and we could talk about, I don't know, we could make something like free housing for all campaign, or like affordable housing for all. So things like that. Is there appetite to work on something like that for housing, or?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty big issue for most students. So yeah, I mean, it should be something that we're working on kind of continually.
Awesome, thank you.
I think the only question would be like, what would we do? Because like, like for tuition fees, that's a little, I guess, quote unquote easier because it's like it's online. But tuition or housing is more like a broader subject, something.
Yeah, definitely. So for example, a lot of my job is just community organizing. So we would start to, first of all, our objective would be to educate students on what's happening, talking about inflation. There are a lot of things just coming up as well in related to housing that we can do research on, tell students about it. And then what we do is we organize and we go, hey, this is happening, and maybe you can plan like a rally or a protest. And then we create traction, we get media, PR, things like that. And then through media and things like that, we are able to get changes. So for example, we could obviously find our objective through like another meeting, like we'd have a meeting just on housing. And then we could kind of think about that. But does that kind of answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Anyone online have anything to say? Seeing none, we can go on to the next discussion item. Okay, food security. I kind of just brought this up to provide updates. I kind of already provided updates. Breakfast program, Munchie Mondays. I also kind of want to start a community fridge, thinking about it. I kind of wanted to open this up for if you folks want to do anything for food security. I'll obviously be asking for like volunteers and stuff for the breakfast program and things when things come up, but any appetite for anything else we could be doing?
Sorry for that. I know Embark does like that, I don't know, less than perfect fruit and stuff like that. You know, they set up around campus. If there was like a way to like expand that or something, because it's exactly what you're talking about, you know, sort of fresh fruit and vegetable, and they're just giving it away for free, right?
Yeah,
So maybe just, I don't know, if we have talked to them in the past or touch base with them again and see if there's anything SFSS can do to help them expand that program.
yeah, definitely. So I'm thinking an action item here is, I've already been working on food security stuff with Embark, but
Yeah.
maybe we can start this as a project with ECA in itself. How about, let's say this, when I look at the meeting minutes again, and I see this on the meeting minutes, I will start a meeting with Embark, and then I'll send out a when to meet for committee members. And then we can bring up this idea that Grayson brought up and then see how we can collaborate, because I feel like that's an awesome idea. How does that sound to committee members? Sound good? We're getting a lot of action items done today, huh? Look at us go.
Because we're in person.
Yeah, I think so as well. Awesome. 11, any other discussion for food security? Seeing none, on to the next. 11.4, development sessions. I think we were talking about a lobbying development session. Gabe, if you want to add to this.
Yeah, so Josh, who was just here, is working with the executive director at the Capilano Students Union to put on lobbying workshops for not just you know, student unions, but organizations all across the region that are involved in lobbying activities. And so he approached me and said, yo, you know anyone who would be interested in doing some lobbying workshops? And I said, hey, I'm a member of a whole committee that could absolutely benefit from some lobbying training. And so I believe he's going to be getting in contact with me very soon with some more details about what these workshops could look like. But I figured it would be a fantastic opportunity for this committee to do a bit more learning on lobbying.
Awesome, thanks, Gabe. How do we feel about a lobbying workshop?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and this would all be free for committee members.
Who would be leading it? Like,
Who would be, Gabe, who would be leading it? I'm assuming Josh and Chris.
Yes.
So Joshua is the executive director of the Alliance of BC Students, and then Chris is the executive director of the Capilano Students Union. Yeah.
Maybe to expand on this idea, I mean, this is very necessary. I think, you know, your MLA representative, people who go to Ottawa, people in Victoria, they're lobbied by professions all the time, and it's like this uneven playing field. I think if we could, as an organization, you know, people come in, they do some workshops, they learn how to just, you know, even as an individual, go and talk to their MLA, go and talk to their MP. It's not enough people do it. People aren't comfortable doing it. They don't know how to even get started. That's a real life skill. And I think if you know, the more people we can help to do that, the better outcomes for everybody in our community. So I think this is a great idea. You know, run with it, expand it.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds awesome. I also like the idea of expanding it as well. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I feel like it would be a great thing for this committee, but also other students.
Yeah, I mean, everyone should be going to talk to their MPs, you know.
Yeah.
Whenever anything pops up, or even just you know, get on a first name basis kind of thing. So they remember, you know, they work for us and not for the cigarette lobby or whoever it is.
Snaps for that. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I feel like you hit right on the spot of like politicians are answerable to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome. Amazing. Any other thoughts on this? We're talking about the development section, by the way. Bring it back. Seeing none, on to the last discussion item before adjournment. Yay. Okay, so ECA social event. I just kind of want to know what y'all want to do for a social. I want to plan it soon. Literally, it can range from like a dinner to a trampoline park. I don't really mind. Let's just talk about it. If we have multiple ideas, maybe we can do a poll. We aren't going to be planning it right now. I just want ideas. I'll bring it back to staff, see what we can do for funding. Obviously, all of it will be paid. Just let me know what you want to do. Any thoughts, online or in person?
can we make it like an afternoon thing?
Yeah, we can figure out times whenever, we're just, yeah.
I want to be home by a reasonable hour, guys.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe we just sort of keep it simple, keep it in the afternoon. You know, do something sort of sooner rather than later in the semester.
Yeah,
Low stakes, good attendance.
Yeah.
are we just thinking about like, we could do like a simple lunch at Beer Craft or something?
Yeah,
or-
probably, that'll probably work.
Okay, cool. That was easy enough. I'll figure that out, send a went to me and we'll get that going. Yeah, awesome. Any other thoughts on this for a social? Seeing none? Oh, I see a smile on your face, Gabe.
I'm excited.
We're
Love
getting
beer
so
craft.
happy. Okay, amazing. Any other thoughts before, oh, I guess announcement, which I didn't put in the agenda, our next meeting will be in 2 weeks, same room, same time. And then I'll have coffee and stuff ready beforehand, but we can go grab something since we already passed the money. I'll get coffees for all of us. For those tuning in online too, thank you for coming. Thank you, Danielle, for taking notes and being here. Appreciate you helping me out, Gabe. And I will see you soon, Daniel, too. I guess we can end the meeting now. Oh, I have to adjourn it. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Okay, section 18, adjournment. Can I get a mover, please?
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Grayson moves to adjourn. Can I get a seconder? Minahill seconds. The motion reads, be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 1:24 PM. I'm going to be seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to consent, please raise your hand so I can call on you for your vote. Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming. Appreciate it. Amazing. Yay. Okay, bye.